Good morning, everyone. You're all so jolly. You must have got something nice from Santa.
A muffin.
Or are you all Jewish and it's your third day of Hanukkah? Okay, doesn't really matter now. Loretta, this is the third day, right?
Yes.
Yes. And what do you get the kids?
Well, the twins have so much stuff left over from Christmas that they didn't
Oh, you
even get
just
to
rewrapped
opening
it?
that I no, I didn't. They
Oh.
haven't even opened it, so we're just doing that, and
Uh-huh.
then Rory, we just get one little thing a day,
Okay.
and Ben I get 8 books, one
8
book
books.
Nice.
We are going to go live on YouTube, so that if you are here clandestinely, you should probably hide your face. You're supposed to be at work. We have restrooms, modern facilities right down this hallway. 6134 is the number.
a day. There's a little. It's on a little frame right by the door, so don't feel like you have to memorize it.
And our new locks work pretty good, so you don't have to worry about hitting it 4 times. We have hot coffee. If we run out, let somebody know, and they'll put a new pot up there.
Ooh, we got some mimosas already.
Most
I
of us
love
working
that.
it. Danae is on breakfast this morning. Is that right, Danae? What are we having? Blueberry muffin. What's the magic ingredients that make your greens so good? Fish tacos, spicy.
Yep.
That's
Citrusy.
right.
Citrus.
Citrus. What else do we need to say? Anything? Any other house rules? Don't give Lars a hard time. He gets really feisty in the morning.
Please clap when I clap. Otherwise, I'm just clapping for myself, which is fine, but less gratifying.
Less gratifying. That's good.
All right, 8 o'clock. Let's do this. Welcome to the Hot Stove Society show on Cairo Radio. We've got the last show of the new year happening right now. Is
Right
that
now,
true?
that's true.
Right now. I'm Chef Tom Douglas.
I'm Loretta Douglas.
And we are coming to you from the beautiful kitchen studios of the Hot Stove Society Cooking School, the Hotel Andra in downtown Seattle, right at 4th and Virginia, in the middle of kind of Douglasville. After watching a little bit of It's a Beautiful Life the other night.
It's a Wonderful Life.
It's a Wonderful Life.
Uh-huh.
And there's in Potterville, so this is my corner of Douglasville.
Yeah.
Well, you've got quite a few things going on here.
Just in this corner, yeah. It's like my little area.
Yeah.
And it made me think when I was watching It's a Wonderful Life, I have had one death threat in my life from a former employee, and it's right on my corner right here. A bartender that we fired sent me a letter like right out of Hawaii Five-0, with the letters
The letters
No way.
cut out of a magazine and
Wow.
newspaper and all kind of pieced together into a threat like, I could have killed you today.
Oh, wow.
But then he wrote on the letter, on the envelope, so we traced his printing back to our payroll,
Wow.
and we busted
Wow,
him.
detectives. I don't know where this came from.
I don't know
Story.
either. Anyway,
Okay.
it was an exciting story. No, it's from watching It's a Wonderful Life. That's where it came from, because Mr. Potter is just crazy. Remember Potter's? Oh, never mind.
Okay.
You're too young.
It's a cooking show.
You're too young. Come join us for a live breakfast recording. You can purchase tickets at hotstovesociety.com or catch us on YouTube anytime during the seasons of the year at Tom Douglas and Co. Upcoming classes, Xiao Ching Chow is here with her new book, Feast of Good Fortune. She's doing a class on January 11th. If you haven't had a chance to experience what she does, she makes cooking Chinese very simple. I love how easy it is to kind of get into it.
I
and
love
to-
that new book. I've been using it.
Have
and
ya?
It's just like so approachable.
Yeah.
So approachable. I love
All
it.
of her books, I feel
Yeah.
like Chinese soul food, all of them are really good. Rachel Bell is here at the Hot Stove on January 25th. She wrote a new book called Open Sesame.
All things sesame.
And tahini.
Delicious.
Mhm.
My guess is if you're allergic to sesames, do not
Skip
sign
it.
up for this
Mhm.
class. The Recipe Box Workshop, again, maybe some of you in the audience saw out front in the lounge area of the Hot Stove my collection of recipe boxes. And Cynthia Nims is going to join us. She's an accomplished author and has this kind of workshop class of how to take the family recipes and coordinate them and put them in a system that you can share with the family. And as I've said before, one of the tragedies and glories of my recipe box collection is I buy them on eBay. They're $5 maybe. They're full of recipes, all with handwritten notes on them, and somebody has just sold them off like their entire family recipe box
Yeah.
history, and it makes me twisted. But it makes me happy to get them because I don't buy them without the recipes in them. Yeah.
The history.
On today's show, we're going to create a festive New Year's Eve menu. McKinney Hall is here. She's got a new book out called Simple Goodness. No fuss, plant-based meals straight from your pantry. And you might know McKinney from her spots on evening. So
Right.
she and I kind of rotate weeks
Mhm.
and have for over 10 years on evening, the TV show on King 5. So I think every other week it's me and then her the following. So looking forward to seeing her again. Michelle Douglas. Wow, there's 3 Douglases here today.
Oh,
My youngest baby sister is here. She's doing the good work of running the Emergency Food Network down there in Pierce County. She's the CEO and has been for 5 or 6 or 7 years. And she's going to tell us about that and maybe share some stories about our dinner table growing up, which was a table for 10, pretty
Table-
much every meal.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's with no friends.
And that's with no
Yeah.
grandparents who lived with us. And, so pretty much every meal. Renee Erickson is here. She's been gallivanting around the globe promoting her new books. The newest one being what, Renee? Sunlight and Breadcrumbs, Making Food with Creativity and Curiosity. And the artwork, are those all your paintings?
so
You
beautiful.
little tramp, you're so talented. My God. It is so beautiful. I just
Yeah.
love it. And it's a bestseller right now in all of the Seattle bookstores, probably around the world, as far as I know. Yeah. You know what I found out, Renee, when I wrote the Dahlia Bakery book was that if you pre-order enough copies, like I pre-ordered 25,000 copies. If you pre-order enough copies, it becomes a New York Times bestseller right away. That's what all those gangsters do on the radio when they say, we'll send you a free book. It's like, they're just trying to make a bestseller.
Uh-huh.
So I'm looking forward to talking with Renee. She's going to join us for the whole second hour of the show. All right, Loretta, taste of the week.
Okay, my taste of the week is a crab dip that you made, and crab dip is like a thing in the Douglas family. I mean, my
mother made a good one.
She made a really good crab dip. It's at every occasion we have crab dip, but you made one at our holiday party
For
the other day
management
for
team,
the
yeah.
management holiday party, and it was completely different than grandma's.
Mhm.
And I just stood by the bowl for like an hour.
Now, what did you pick out? What
during
was
the
the
party.
flavor that you picked out that kind of struck you? Because it was
It was
pretty
just-
simple dip. was barely
super
even a
bright.
dip.
I think I'm used to grandma's that has like the mayonnaise base, and
Uh-huh.
this one didn't feel. I don't know if there was mayo in it, but
There was, but not as much.
not as much, and
Yeah.
it just felt a lot like zingier, brighter. I don't
Right.
even know what you put in it, but it was really good.
Well, my mom's, which is in my second book, my mom's crab dip, is more of a Thousand Island dressing
Mhm.
base. And she took a little bit of offense when I took apart the Thousand Island and made ingredients out of what I would make Thousand Island with.
Mm-hmm.
Just like Pop Pop took offense when I kind of changed his solstice chowder around a bit
Mm-hmm.
to my taste. But when you write a book, that's kind of like the glory of it all is that
You get to do it your way.
you get to do it your way. But then you have to have mom approve using my mom's crab dip because it's not really.
Yeah.
It's like an imitation of that.
Yeah.
But the one I made for the team was much more crabby, right?
Yeah,
So-
it was really. It felt like crab kind of barely bound together with.
Yeah.
Whereas it's not a soupy dip the way grandma's is.
correct. It was pickled ginger,
Mm.
Kewpie mayo, but not too much,
Okay.
and the Banache Hatch
Hatch
chili
chili.
sauce. So that was to brighten it. The pickled ginger gave it some flavor and brightening, and then the
Kewpie just kind
the
of held it
Kewpie's a
together.
little bit
Little
sweet.
sweet.
Yeah,
Yeah.
a little bit sweet.
And then what'd
Yeah.
you dip into it?
Everything.
Everything.
Bread.
Yeah.
People just stood around it. It was 5
Spoons.
pounds of crab meat, and
Ooh.
there were
Yeah.
30 people.
Yeah, it was
It
great.
was gone.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's delicious. What about you?
My thing was, Renee's on the show today, so I'm going to pick something of hers that I had last night at Lioness.
Ooh.
The good news is it was free because Jen O'Neill was there and she sent me out a little taste.
Mhm.
So I had a couple of really good tastes. I had the 36-month aged Reggiano, which is a favorite of
Ooh.
mine.
Yeah.
And she serves it with balsamic vinegar. I don't really need the vinegar.
Okay.
That cheese with the crystallization in
Little
it,
salt
the crystals are
nuggets.
the
it's
best.
just the bomb. Just
Mhm.
the bomb. And then we had mortadella, always great. Renee, do you make those crackers, those flatbread crackers? Yeah, they're really good. Like we call those semolina crackers when we make them, but I don't know what you make yours out of. And then the freebie with my martini service. You know, when you order a martini service, I'm on a 2-drink-a-day diet.
Mhm.
Order the martini at Lioness because it's
It's
a
big.
2-drink. They
But
give
you've
you-
only technically ordered one.
But I
It's like
only
a
ordered
loophole.
One, yeah, I only ordered
Yeah.
one drink.
A martini loophole.
So doctor, take that.
What came with it?
Yeah.
What was your freebie?
My freebie was the smoked black cod with Ikura, the salmon
Oh.
roe on top.
Yum.
Really good. Again, some more of those cheesy crackers. But my martini came with a couple of delicious olives. Usually olives that I feel like in martinis are often an afterthought.
Uh-huh.
These were really good olives, a little bit of olive oil drops on top.
Oh, that's pretty.
Not sure what was in that olive oil.
Mhm.
Delicious. And then on the side, I get mine all gin. When you order it at Lioness, you get half gin, half vodka. I think they're both Italian from some parts of Italy, but and then half of it comes in a little carafe, so you can have it iced and chilled for later. And the other half goes down so freaky fast.
Sounds
that-
lovely.
I had to put the second half over rocks just to slow myself
Yes.
down.
Yeah.
Because your mother, she drinks she ordered a paper plane.
Yeah, of course.
And she sat there, for an hour nursing that one drink. Mine was gone in 3 minutes.
Yeah. Well,
then I
martinis
have
are
to wait.
dangerous that way.
I
Yeah.
have to wait because I can't have
Till
another.
she's ready for wine so that you can have your one glass of wine.
Yeah, exactly.
A hard life.
I'm just saying, I have a very difficult life.
Yeah. Very
Very
self-sacrificing over here.
Okay, and then of course we're going to wrap up the show with food for thought, tasty trivia. That's always a good time.
Yeah.
The problem is, Smarty Pants is here today
Yeah.
and is probably going to take us on.
Yeah.
So I might
Gonna
have
be
to.
rough.
That would be Renee.
That would be Renee. I probably will have to steal some ideas from the audience.
Yeah. We love a phone a friend in the
We
audience.
phone a friend.
So
Did you have a good holiday? I saw a lot of you.
you did see quite a lot of me.
Uh-huh.
It was great. It's 3 kids is a lot of kids at,
Oh
at,
my
at-
God,
at
it's
any
a lot
time.
of kids.
But yeah, they
With
stayed
all
at
the
your house.
excitement.
How'd you feel about it?
Yeah.
Did you have matching
Well, here's
pajamas?
the thing. We have our
We
house
did have
leaders
matching
come-
pajamas
Yeah, we had
that
our-
he begrudgingly gets into for one photo.
I didn't complain one time
You
this
didn't.
year. But we have our house
This
leaders
year?
come on Fridays,
Uh-huh.
every other Friday, and they do such a beautiful job on the kitchen and the floor.
Uh-huh.
And then those 2 little rugrats or 3 little rugrats come over and
It's
literally chew with an open mouth and just leave a trail behind them.
Yeah.
I was a much more courteous eater, I think, when I was a child because I ate all the food.
Yeah.
These kids just chew it and spit it out.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's a thing.
And at your house, you have a dog, so it's a natural vacuum. But at our house,
You just have to get a
you
dog.
just step in it, and next thing you know, you're on your butt. You've slid off the.
Some half chewed apple. It's really lovely.
Oh
Having
my.
kids is so neat and tidy.
So anyway, I'm gonna leave it at that. I really enjoyed the visit.
You really enjoyed it. Did you really enjoy the 2 hours you spent assembling little push pedal cars for the twins?
I did that. I'll never get those 2
Cute.
hours back. I was thinking about on my deathbed, what would I wish I had not done so that I could live 2 hours longer.
Mhm.
The other thing I did, I will say, which I got very little credit for, was I made for the kids a separate dinner: chicken fingers and tater tots.
Oh,
Yeah.
cute.
Are
It
you
was
kidding?
very popular.
I know all the adults ate all the chicken fingers. And the kids,
Okay, well,
The
no
kids
offense.
spit
You
'em
have
out.
seafood chowder or you have homemade chicken tenders. I'm choosing homemade chicken tenders.
Who brung you up, girl? Are we? Cam's giving me the hook. All right. When we come back, it's time for Makini Howell. She's here with her new book on Cairo Radio. It's the Hot Stove Society show, 97.3 FM. Has Makini walked in yet, or we'll come
I
back
haven't
to
seen
her?
Not yet.
All right. We're going to go to you, Michelle. How many people had little babies, like tiny little babies, over for the holidays? It's tragic, isn't it? Oh, it's
It's
wonderful.
lovely.
Come on, you can be honest.
I'm going to throw something at you.
Michelle liked it.
Am I in the wrong spot? Right spot?
Cam, can you fix her microphone, please?
I did like having babies.
You liked having all the babies?
Yeah.
Yeah.
For sure.
Thank
Next
you.
time I'll cook them more well done.
Well, especially if they're not sick, right? Everyone's healthy, super fun.
Oh, they're never not
everybody
sick.
being well after that early Thanksgiving
Oh my God.
extravaganza to the hospital and everything else
Oh.
felt pretty darn good.
Yeah, the trip that we don't speak
Yeah.
of.
Yeah. The trip that shall not be named.
All right, we're back here in the kitchen on Cairo Radio. We've got lots of guests today, and we're going to get started with the second guest. Our what? Your auntie,
My auntie.
my youngest sister of 6, Michelle Douglas.
Thank you for having me.
Absolutely.
Welcome back.
I saw your wife is here. Your mother-in-law is here.
It's
You're
a family
traveling
affair.
as a pack.
Ask her what time she had to get up to get here from Tacoma.
5:30.
5:30. That's okay. I was already up for 2 hours. By
Oh,
then,
yeah.
so-
Of
Oh my
course you
God.
had to
You
beat
walked
me.
both ways in the snow.
Yeah, was it
uphill.
uphill as well?
Yes.
Yeah.
You are the CEO of the Emergency Food Network in Lakewood, Washington, and as you know, I've been a big supporter of Food Lifeline, which is the Seattle version or the King County version. What is?
Yeah. Food
you're
Lifeline's a
more
couple
Pierce County
more
and-
counties
and
than
it's-
we are, but we
Right.
specialize in Pierce County.
Right, and so what you do is near and dear to my heart, and I think of you like I think of Pam Hinckley, who left us to go save the world at the Pike Place Market, the Senior Center and Food Bank. You're doing good work.
Thank you.
Well needed work, and
Yeah.
I'm so proud of you as your older brother,
Thank you.
not your
Not
oldest,
the oldest,
but your older brother. Congrats for actually hanging on to a job.
Oh.
I couldn't
Oh my God.
all good.
Okay, let's just say you had to start your own empire because no one would hire you.
There you go. There you go.
That's funny.
Tell us about the Emergency Food Network and how you got started there and why it's important to you.
Absolutely. Well, I mean, I actually got started with you, right? I have 20 years in hospitality
Mhm.
and moved into emergency food after that. And what we do is we act as the distribution center for Pierce County, and we work with 75 different food pantries. So we hit every every area of Pierce County. And I think what's particularly interesting about where we are is that so much of Pierce County is really rural. So when we talk about how people are getting emergency food assistance, right, they need things like home delivery, which we do, but they also need a food bank right in their area because there's so little bus service.
Uh-huh.
But what we're
Because
seeing,
that's the option: bus service or
it's bus service or walk, right?
walk. Yeah.
And so what we're seeing right now is just the highest numbers that the Food Network has ever seen. WSDA just released statistics that 1 in 4 people last year visited a food pantry in Washington State.
Wow.
So WSDA, you have to be a
Sorry,
little more
Washington
clear.
State Department of Agriculture.
Uh-huh.
So when we think about that, 1 in 4, going into COVID, our statistics were 1 in 10.
Mhm.
So the need for emergency food has increased incredibly high. In those 75 food pantries that we work with, we expect to see over 3 million visits in 2024.
Let's go back to the distribution part because I don't think people quite understand sometimes what places like the Emergency Food Network or Food Lifeline or Northwest
Yeah.
Harvest. Some of you, I think, you have a food bank within your building.
We don't have a food bank within our building, but we do have a home delivery program
Okay.
that serves 1,000
Because
individuals.
a lot of
week.
people don't realize that you
Yeah.
have to have the distributor to spread the goodness around, right? When you get
Exactly.
a railroad car full of product, apples will say,
Yep.
5,000 boxes, whatever that number is, it doesn't do you a whole lot of
your
good
neighborhood
unless you
food
spread
pantry
it.
can't take that.
You got to
No.
send it to all the different food pantries, and somebody has to do that. project.
Exactly.
Yeah.
I have a great story of a guy calling me with an entire truckload of butternut squash and wanting to be sure that I would be a good steward of his butternut squash that came off his family farm. And then he's like, well, how will you get this much out? And I was like, I'll divide it by 75. Right. So when you think about that level of distribution, the ability to receive product in big quantity, we're going to distribute about 15 million pounds of food this year at
Mhm.
EFN.
Wow.
That is what you really need in order to take in large loads of produce, to take in, whole truckloads of rice and oats and pasta. And then I think the other thing that we have that is a big advantage in our distribution center is we have a huge repack center within it. So we bring in 8 groups a week and they repack rice, oats, pasta, frozen vegetable down into family size bags. And each time we do that, a 50-pound bag of rice that we repack versus buying it in a pound, like that, but the savings on that equals an extra truckload of rice every year.
Mhm.
So there's
And
a
it's
real
all done with
multiplier.
volunteer work,
Right.
right?
2,200 volunteers.
2,200
It's
volunteers.
unbelievable.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
that's a lot of fun. Doing a repacking with,
It is so
with
fun.
your colleagues or friends is just a really community building and important thing to do.
Yeah, it's an excellent experience. And also, I think we see so many people that find there's a lot of hopelessness right now, right? But they find a lot of meaning and purpose in that kind of work. And it's incredible value to an agency like ours.
Loretta, you've recently joined the board of the Backpack Brigade, and I'm not sure where they source most of their food from. I would guess Food Life. They're up here, right?
They're up here. Yeah, they buy their own. I mean, they have a warehouse of a certain size, so they're able to buy some of their own, but they also, work with Food Lifeline and things like that. But they, in some ways, there's other smaller kind of meal programs like theirs, and they distribute some because
Yeah.
they're actually the largest in that
And that's the
category.
kind of thing
And
that
it's
Michelle-
exactly the same. Like they can get a better price than
Right.
some of the other smaller programs, and they're able to say yes to more. And when you and I have talked about it, like that was one of the biggest things for you was getting to the size that you could just say yes when
Yes.
somebody called you with their
Mhm.
truck of butternut squash,
Yeah.
right? That you didn't have to say like, oh, we can't handle that.
Yeah, they sometimes joke with me that the answer is yes. And then I ask, what's the question? But I think that's such a great point, right? I mean, we also have moved. Before COVID, we were buying about $500,000 worth of food, but now we're buying over $2 million worth of food a year, right? Because the need is just so high, but also the food dollars aren't going as far as
Yeah.
they were. So you got to stretch it as
Yeah,
far
we
as
were
you
talking
can.
the other day. You said your annual budget has like tripled since you started, but I mean, the purchasing power of that
Yeah,
is
it's just
not,
not-
keeping up with.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Exactly. It's an interesting logistical challenge, but there's also this kind of logistical magic. We built an additional warehouse last year, and being able to have that extra space to say yes, and then also to multiply out into all of these different food pantries. It's really where the power of distribution lies.
Yeah, think about that farmer. If he had to get 75 boxes,
Mhm.
Yeah.
pack all those, and then take them one by one to each different food pantry that needed butternut
Exactly.
squash. First, you'd have to call and make sure that
Uh-huh.
someone there was to drop the food. I mean, it's just
Yeah.
It wouldn't
impossible.
work.
And we buy from
He
a
would
lot
end up just not doing it.
He wouldn't do
Yeah.
it, right? We buy from a lot of local farms and then we sub-distribute from there. But if they had to run contracts with all of our food pantries, they would never, ever do it.
Yeah, because there's logistics. It's not the
It'll
old
kill
days
you.
when I started, which was, hey, you got a dented can of food, send it to the food bank, or
Yeah.
out of date, send it to the food bank, which just goes right in the garbage, and you got to pay to get rid of it.
Right. Yeah. And I think that's another thing. There's just this opportunity for big agencies and so forth to use their food differently.
Mhm.
40% of food in America is wasted. We
Yeah.
need to get more smart about how we're getting that food out to all of these people that are hungry. We have a supply distribution problem more than we have a food problem.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Totally. And you now can work like with the government, right? To be able to do some of
Yeah.
the overflow and the subsidy.
Exactly. So we do the Emergency Food Assistance Program, TFAP, which is the Federal Commodities Program, which is kind of really interesting because the federal government often buys things that are oversupplied. Like one year they oversupplied cranberry. So we taught everyone how to make cranberry peanut butter sandwiches.
Oh, fun.
But they also prop up pricing for farmers around.
Oh, absolutely. Or like when there's trade issues and so forth, a lot of that food comes to the food pantry.
Mhm.
And then we sub-distribute out to, not all 75 partners get it, but about 30 do.
Mhm.
Great.
Interesting.
Awesome. Yeah.
The growing up in our house, we didn't have a lot of food bank issue. I mean, we never went to a food bank that I knew of.
We didn't.
But
I do
I
see
wasn't
how
even
she was.
aware.
Yeah, she was clever with what she served, right?
Uh-huh.
Like the powdered milk and the tuna in the homemade
Oleo.
tomato. Yeah, exactly. All
Yeah.
of those things.
Uh-huh.
So I think we didn't go to a food bank, but she definitely really was food smart.
Right.
She meaning your mom.
My mom.
Yeah.
Sorry. Yeah.
Yeah.
My mom.
Yeah,
was.
when I look back on it, and we'll talk a little bit about this in the second segment, but my dad never made more than $36,000 a year in his whole life.
I can't. When I
And
saw
then-
those pay stubs after he passed, I
Yeah.
couldn't believe it.
When she passed away, 2 years ago, her estate was worth $1.5 million. How did she do it?
Well, I mean, they bought their house for like $20,000.
I understand that, but that was in 1964 when $20,000 meant
Was a
something,
lot,
right?
yeah.
So They bought this stove over here for $260
And paid it off over 5 years.
almost 10. Yeah,
Yeah.
the story I heard was 10 years, $260. It's like you're sending a check out for $2 a month.
Yeah.
It's like it's
Yeah.
the craziest thing. Yeah. So anyway, good on them. Let's talk a little bit about that when we come back. Growing up in a big family, I don't know that there's as many of those as there used to be. People having 6 children, except for my daughter.
Okay, we
My
have 8
God.
total.
Yeah,
Are
8
you guys
total, yeah.
leaving some out there?
Yeah, exactly.
Are those the ones you don't like?
I don't really count my big brother very often. On Cairo Radio, it's the Hot Stove Society Show, 97.3 FM. Steve McKinney.
Oh, good.
Okay, now we're doing this. Yes, exactly.
Just really making Cam's life hard today.
All right. It happens. All right, we're back here in the kitchen on Cairo Radio. We're sitting here talking. It's Loretta Douglas, Tom Douglas, and Michelle Douglas, your auntie and my youngest sister.
3 generations.
Generations. That's nice.
That was a shock.
Who's mean to who?
I liked it.
Yeah, exactly. Who's mean to who? Michelle Douglas is the CEO since 2018 of the Emergency Food Network down in Pierce County, Lakewood to be specific. And let's chat a little bit about growing up, because this is the holiday times. We're getting ready to be done with them for another year. And having just had Loretta and her brood, and you and Clay, your son, and Elle and mother-in-law, and family all over the place, including friends who have become family over the years, right? Pam and Mike is 45-year friends now, and things like that. Your godparents.
Yeah, I mean, I think there was like 24 of us or something like that.
When we sat around the table on Christmas night, it felt like sitting around the table at our house when we were growing up, because it was
Absolutely.
always just that many people. And
It's never not packed.
Tables in 2 rooms.
Remember when you graduated from the kid table to the big table?
Oh,
That
yeah,
was
of
so
course.
exciting.
What do you remember about those big dinners?
It's funny. When we talked about what this segment would be called, Table for 10, I actually very rarely remember a table that was only 10.
Uh-huh.
Because, you all left and moved out here when I was about 5.
Well, if you had showered once in a while. Maybe,
Come on.
Yeah.
But I remember a table that was constantly expanding, right? So I remember that just like the family that we have now, right? It was friends, it was aunties, our grandmas lived with us. There was just a pile of people. And if I were to say, like, what is my biggest dinner memory and the thing that I loved is that on your birthday, you got to pick whatever you wanted to eat. And I loved that, because coming from such a big family, you just didn't get that many options to choose. And I was always pot roast, potatoes, and peas. What were you?
Boy, what was I? I couldn't even tell you.
Wow, really?
Yeah, I couldn't tell you.
What was your favorite meal that she made?
Meatloaf. I don't
You
think
liked the meatloaf?
I did like the meatloaf,
Wow.
especially in sandwiches the next day. That was my
Wow.
favorite. Taking to school, she had the lunch bags lined up on the counter with all of our names
Yeah.
on them, and meatloaf sandwich.
Well, that is impressive. I was not one of the meatloaf fans at all.
Well, my dad had accounts. Our dad had accounts in Cincinnati, and he loved the chili noodles in Cincinnati.
Oh, the chili
it was
noodles
just-
are disgusting.
The most horrible thing. So anything that we didn't have to eat chili noodles.
Yeah. When I
Yeah.
hit 18, I remember saying to Mom, I'm done with the chili noodles.
Uh-huh.
I'm just done.
Well, she made them because she loved them, right?
I know.
Was
Yeah.
it was it canned chili
It was
over
no,
noodles,
no,
or
no.
she made her
There
own?
was no chili at all involved. It was stewed tomatoes in a can with
With
egg
ground
noodles
beef.
and ground beef and 0 seasonings.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Wow,
Do you want some?
I'm good. Thank you.
Yeah. My biggest thing about being around the table is the traditional family makeup, I'll say, with Mom doing all the cooking, the girls helping as they got older, watching all the cousins.
Well, that's funny. What I remember is the boys did no cooking and no cleaning.
Did I just say that? Mom did all the cooking with the girls helping.
Mhm.
The boy, that stove over there is shiny today because I polish it every god darn day.
That is just an absolute
That
lie.
is 100% true. 100% true. But I also remember doing all the trash and sweeping the floor and
Yeah, it was always a completely put back together kitchen at the end of the night. And now that I'm, a parent myself and am part of hosting these big dinners that our family has, I know what an incredible amount of work that was, right? That it was always reset like that was kind of amazing.
Yeah. The other thing I remember is my dad, then after Mom did all the cooking, she would go put on her house coat. And I remember this more about Grandma Louise, cooking all day in her kind of house dress.
Yeah.
Disappearing at 5:00, coming back out with the big red lips
Lipstick on.
and a fancy dress and a pearl necklace. And we would sit down to beef bourguignon or something.
And then
maybe.
your dad would like carve the meat.
Yeah,
or
there
do
was always
whatever,
the carving
right?
station. Yeah,
he
at
was
the head of the
he
table.
was, he was like a brute when it came to carving the meat.
Yeah,
Because you weren't allowed to touch anything.
right. And
You
then
got
everything
bowls
was
of mashed
getting
potatoes
cold.
steaming with melting butter on top.
Yeah.
You're not allowed to touch
Yeah,
them.
and you can't
So-
do anything until everyone has said grace.
Right. Right. So then every person around the table of 20, you want white meat or dark meat? So then he cuts a little bit of both, passes it around.
Yeah.
Everyone has to wait there with your hands.
Yeah.
just
In the
like-
meantime, the butter's just pooling in
Yeah,
the mashed
exactly.
potatoes.
And then you think you're getting ready to jump in. And this man who never went to church a day in his life says, we now have to say grace.
Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah.
100%.
There were some issues there.
Was that Thanksgiving and Christmas or just?
Oh, no, that's every night, yeah.
birthday, holiday.
Oh, my
whatever.
Well,
goodness.
my dad traveled. He was a traveling salesman. He covered Maine to Virginia. And so he traveled Monday through Friday. And then often when he came back, there'd be a roast on Sunday.
Okay.
So it was pretty special.
And he gave my mom a budget to shop for every week.
Wow.
Yeah.
Uh,
And I mean, one thing that I always am stunned about is my mom had 5 kids before she learned how to drive. So she only went to the store on the weekend when my dad was home.
Wow.
The rest
And we
she
would
would
each take a
figure
cart.
out like she had 5
Yeah.
kids.
Yeah.
And she was meal planning.
Exactly.
For the
I mean,
whole
milk was
week for
delivered to the
them.
house.
Yeah.
So they had a milk box. But other than that, she was meal planning and figuring out, working on a budget and only shopping on the weekend when my dad could drive.
Yeah, I can't
How
imagine.
things have changed, Loretta.
I know
right?
it's crazy, right? I mean, you think about it.
My
My Instacart.
once a
we
week
got-
Costco delivery, my
Yeah.
once a week town and country pickup.
Yeah.
At
It's a
least
totally different
another
world.
stop a week. I mean, it's
Yeah.
crazy.
No, I remember each kid took a cart and they were all full, and she'd
Yep.
buy everything on sale with her coupons.
Yeah.
She'd
Oh,
cut
such
all
a
week-
coupon clipper, that
yeah,
one.
all
Yeah.
week long. And
Speaking of your recipe box, remember she had a big coupon box.
oh, I do.
Yeah.
Yeah. Although I think she had more time to do that. When we all left home, she took on boarders, whether it was college students
Mm-hmm.
or babysitting kids in the afternoon, took on a job.
Yep.
All those things that kept her busy.
Yeah, but I mean, I think
She
that
loved the
that
baby,
spoke about how big her table was,
Yeah.
right? She was always bringing more people in. But you're right, that woman loved a baby. Even when she didn't have the strength in her arms anymore to hold a baby,
Uh-huh.
she'd put him on her lap and rock him back and
Right.
forth. Yeah,
So
she just
sweet.
loved a grandbaby. I think that's why she had so many of us. And then when we got older, she was like, "Just trouble, get me another baby."
Just what?
Just trouble.
Just trouble.
That's why
Huh.
my minivan is named for her.
Yeah, exactly.
We when Mom died, we took some of the inheritance that we got and bought Loretta. Were you preggers with twins
Yeah,
at the
with
time?
the twins. Yeah.
And she
Oh.
named it Gertie,
Oh, cute.
Yeah.
which is her middle
In her
name,
honor.
Mary Gertrude. Which
Mostly, I mean,
she-
partially because she loathed.
she
would
despised.
turn over in her grave
I
to
know.
know that the radio now knew that was her middle name.
Yeah. But that's the kind of thing you remember on holidays, especially, I think, is that you're sitting around the table and to me, I was doing little flashbacks during supper the other
Yeah.
night of what it was like growing up in our house.
I always think that too. I made Spritz cookies this year, which I have a cookie gun from 1950 that I'm using that is just like my mother's. And I used to go back every December and spend a week with her, and we would bake an incredible quantity of cookies and put them in her freezer.
Sure.
And so she'd have them there. But I love that feeling of like complete abundance and variety
Mhm.
that we grew up with.
Well, I'll tell you, I had some of your spritz the other
And
night.
they were delicious. Is that what
Some
you wanted
of them
to say?
were really good.
Oh.
The ones that were actually cooked.
Oh yeah.
Were
Do you remember
really
last
good.
time I brought spritz? You told me they were overcooked, so I
No,
went
would
under
never.
this time.
I like a little brown on my spritz. Hey,
I
so
thought they were really good. So
Yeah.
so one of the things I wanted to say about Mom that you would appreciate was on her deathbed, literally, with Sister Lori, who had kind of tended to her for her last 5 years, really diligently. She's a bit of a saint, kind of sickeningly nice.
Yeah.
Like Sister Mary Lou, just sickeningly nice.
You notice that no one says that about
No
me.
one says that about me either. Yeah. But on her deathbed, she did two things that I thought were super charming and very mom. One was she told Lori, "There's a bag over there with a bra in it that we bought from Kohl's last week. I think you can take it back.
I
and get
won't
your
be
money."
needing it.
This is an hour before she died.
Mhm.
And then on her deathbed, she went through in her mind what was still in the chest freezer in the basement. There's some chicken breast to use up. There's some fillets that Tom cut.
Yeah.
There's cookies from last Christmas.
I know those are my cookies.
And on her deathbed, she kind of went through her
Yeah.
list because that's how she thought. She
Yeah.
was so frugal that
And do you remember who won the competition? Because we went through.
did.
I know. Yeah.
Wait, what was the competition part?
Well, when she died,
Yeah.
we had to clean out the house.
Yeah,
and,
right.
So part of cleaning out the house was cleaning out the Sears chest freezer, of
Uh-huh.
which she had two of.
Mhm.
92-year-old woman with no children, but she refused to get rid of them.
2 refrigerators and,
And
2
I had,
cupboards of food.
Yeah, exactly. And so I had the job of cleaning out the big chest freezer.
Uh-huh.
And so we had a pool amongst the kids of how old the oldest thing was
Oh,
in the
I
freezer.
got it.
Because she always dated
Mhm.
everything. Yeah. And I feel like I had gone through that freezer once before.
You had and I had as well.
And
Because
what was it? Do you
I
remember?
put on the bottom of the freezer milk crates so that all the food would be higher. You know, she kept shrinking.
Oh, that's a good idea.
She's the
there's-
incredible
if
shrinking
If she
woman.
could reach
Yeah.
a quarter of the way into that
Right.
chest freezer,
She
could
I would have
fall
been
in.
stunned.
Yeah.
So I found some pine nuts from 1966.
Yeah. It was beautiful.
Yeah.
It was pretty amazing.
a long
I'm just going
time.
to say, yeah. But I think we ate them.
No.
I don't think we did. I don't think I did anyway. Maybe that's why your
Pine
cookies.
nuts are expensive.
Maybe that's why your cookies taste the way they do.
Yeah.
They were delicious.
They were delicious. Come on, give me a
Don't
break.
ever bring walnuts to my house again. Okay, when we come back, it's time for Renee Erickson to join us for the whole second hour. We're going to talk New Year's Eve. We're going to talk her new book called Sunlight and Breadcrumbs, and we're going to have a good time on Cairo Radio. It's the Hot Stove Society Show, 97.3 FM. Is Nikini here?
I called in.
Okay, don't worry about it. Yeah. We'll come back. Yeah.
Thanks, Mick.
All right, Renee. You can see we're very serious. So we're going to start with the book, blah, 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 and then we're going to finish our third with her. And then is she staying for trivia, right? After that. So all 4 segments. Yeah, no problem.
Have fun.
But you know,
Do that in our sleep.
One segment?
Should I scoot in?
You want to be like within an inch.
Just making out with it.
A little weird, but you know, you gotta.
There we go.
There you go.
Ready.
and
It's
last
like-
time you were
it's
here was
making me-
COVID, right?
A little cross-eyed. Yeah.
With masks?
I don't remember.
But
It was such a blur. It was
Yeah.
here.
I feel like that was a fever dream that like
Yeah.
didn't happen at this point. It's so weird.
Yeah. It was the worst, but so it goes. Oh, teary.
I know. We have our little ode.
Okay. Great.
And then the third, we're doing New Year's Eve menu.
Okay. I can do it.
Okay.
As long as I don't have to read, I'll not.
Did you change these around or is we're going in this order? Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Cam, you're ready? You've checked your microphone? Okay. She's playing with it. Better check it again.
Perfect.
It was a little low.
Looks great.
You haven't been on since Terry's gone.
I know. I just saw his book and I was like, oh,
We did a whole year of a segment in honor of him, a recipe from his book. We talked about it and did a little dance party each week.
I love
It
it.
was fun. Simple to spectacular.
Yeah.
Yeah. It was a good idea.
Yeah. It's been a year.
Kathy's coming
Yeah.
next week. She was going to come today, but she said it was a little crowded for. Wants to come by and get a squeeze.
Oh,
Huh.
sweet.
That's odd.
Mm-hmm.
How's breakfast? Yeah, you're not going to storm out of here?
I'm out.
You know, typically when a chef comes on the show, they bring something for you to eat.
Oh, shit. I had panettone and I forgot it. So I was in a panic. I really was confused this morning. So
When did you get back? I heard you were in Europe on the book tour. Is that right?
I went to London and
Uh-huh.
I got back
fun.
on the 8th of December.
What a crappy little town that is.
It's the worst.
God.
I love it so much. Yeah, and then I went to LA right away, and then came back, and it was Christmas. It's been madness. Yeah, I'm happy to be
Madness.
home.
Are we boring you?
I'm so tired.
Oh my god, adorable babies.
Babies. Oh my God. Okay, let's do this. Welcome back. It's the Hot Stove Society Show. I'm Tom Douglas,
I'm Loretta Douglas.
and we are joined at the mic by Renee Erickson, James Beard Award-winning chef, co-owner of Sea Creatures Restaurants. I've been at a couple recently. I was down at Deep Dive having drinks. My wife loves that place. She loves herself a good cocktail.
I love that.
I am not a cocktail person. I'm more
Me
of a
neither.
wine person. Yeah. But she loves a good cocktail, and there's none better than the award-winning drinks at Sea Creatures Deep Dive. Then we had dinner at Wilmot's Ghost right afterwards. Delicious.
I love it.
That was a couple of weeks ago now.
Thanks, Tom.
You've got so many restaurants now. I'm glad I'm not the only one. People always say, why do you?
What's wrong with you?
Yeah, exactly. Bateau, Boat Bar, Wilmot's Ghost, The Whale Winds, The Walrus and Carpenter, Barnacle, Deep Dive, Westward, Lioness, and General Porpoise. I didn't realize General Porpoise was still hanging in there.
Barely.
Barely. Yeah.
There's a few of
That's
them,
the
right?
donut shop,
welcome
right?
to Seattle. There are three. I think. Yeah, three. Capitol Hill, Pioneer Square, and then the Spheres.
Tell us how you got rolling in this town. I remember you when you were a little pup
I know.
down at the Boat Street. And
Yeah, so I was a art student at UW and started working at Boat Street and kind of fell in love with restaurants.
Mhm.
And back in a time I bought it in 1998 and I was 25. So it was mostly, and I say I bought it. I paid very little for it because it was, a little shack of a beautiful restaurant. And yeah, it was just easier. Everything was easier, I think, then. And so I just kind of learned as I went. I didn't have any real training and loved baking and loved being in a kitchen and just kind of over time learned more and more of what I was
Is that
doing.
the Boat Street that was
Yeah, on Boat
Mhm.
Street.
on Boat
Yeah,
Street and down?
yeah.
Okay.
So,
So
and yeah,
sweet.
and then it just kind of, I had Boat Street, it closed, and then we moved it to Western and Denny, and it was there for 9 years. And then basically like 12 years after I bought Boat Street was when we opened Walrus. So that was kind of
So you did
the
one thing
first-
for a long
yeah,
time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
12 years.
Before.
So with a little break in the middle for about 2 years, I was just doing catering and trying to relocate the restaurant.
right.
So
How
but yeah.
did your art education help you in the restaurants?
I mean, I
Yeah.
think significantly, and that's the kind of the reason for the cookbook. I think that my like visual art training has been really kind of guided how we made decisions around our interiors and choices within even just like silverware and all the things that we choose are all chosen by myself and Jeremy, my business partner. And I think aesthetically, all of that has, kind of come out of thinking creatively and thinking visually.
I mean, I think it's become what you're known for too. Like
Yeah.
your places are beautiful
Thank
and
you.
you go there when you want to like sit somewhere beautiful
Oh,
and eat something
I love
delicious.
that.
But I love like that you've cultivated this kind of theme. Like I love the sea creatures theme. And I mean, I feel like I can walk into a restaurant and like know when it's one of, even if I didn't know, like because
Yeah.
your aesthetic is so strong. And I love that you've just kind of like dialed in and stuck to like your vision and your visual.
It's a lot of fun. We,
Yeah.
you know, we have like Jeremy and I have a shared secret Pinterest board where we dump things,
That's cute.
and lots of things kind of live there and never end up in the restaurant. But like at Lioness, where you were last night, those chandeliers were in my Pinterest and in my First Dibs like shopping cart for like 2 years. Because I loved them. They're vintage, like 1970s Italian Venetian chandeliers, and you know
Frosty glass. a bit.
yeah, they're all
Early
blown
cues.
glass. They look like little leaves, and so yeah, it's fun to kind of dream a little bit too. And those were not inexpensive, but in a small space, they have a big impact. So it was a nice way to use something that, you know, like in a normal size restaurant, you would have had to have like 30 of them, and we only needed 2. So
Yeah.
it was fun.
And how do you come up with all your creative names?
So Boat Street
Was
just,
there
just
right?
happened.
Right.
Walrus and the Carpenter was it's from
The
the Lewis
poem.
Carroll, from the book. But that was we started doing these dinners that are now called the Normandy dinner that now live at Walrus, but we started them at Boat Street, and that came out of Jeffrey Mitchell, who is a longtime friend of mine who's illustrated both my first and second cookbooks, wrote the foreword
Right.
for this book, and he was my professor at University of Washington
Oh,
when I was
wow.
there, so that's how we met. And we had this big chalkboard at Boat Street that kind of divided that hallway underneath, and he would draw stuff for me. And when we did the Normandy dinner, we always would kind of we loved the story of the Walrus and the Carpenter, and so he did that drawing because it's the story is basically the Walrus and the Carpenter walk down the beach and like lure the oysters to the far enough away so that they can eat them.
Tricky.
And it's
You know
charming
how dark.
and it's sinister and adorable. And so like he did that drawing, and so that stayed up for a while, and it kind of kicked around in our heads as a sweet thing. But we had another name for Walrus. That's actually our LLC name now, but it was Wheatery, which is like an oyster thing. But when we used to answer our telephone, we would practice answering it with a name that we were
oh, how funny.
gonna name the restaurant. And that was an impossible name to say for anyone, especially an American who's like, what the hell is that? You know,
Call me a
weird-
bitch.
Yeah, right, totally. So, and no one would be able to spell it. It was just like, you know, so we ended up calling it Walrus and the Carpenter, and then we internally call it Walrus Bar.
Uh-huh.
So that's a long answer to that. Whale Winds was from a painting that I bought. It was a painting of a whaling ship and a whale coming up out of the ocean, and it explodes the ship, and the people are flying off. And then on a little plaque nailed to it, just someone had hammered the Whale Winds on it, which I thought was really funny. Let's see what else. Westward came as Westward. Bateau was opened after we closed Boat Street.
Okay.
Bateau is boat
Boat,
in
okay.
French. And so we were kind of trying to connect the two, not culinarily really, but like in a style of a restaurant, because most of our restaurants at that point were more, you know, kind of fast paced, smaller plate kind of bar restaurants. And so, you know, Bateau's more formal, kind of more traditional restaurant and coursing and everything. We also moved a lot of what was at Boat Street there because we were frugal. So like all the tables are from Boat Street. A lot of the art, the chalkboard of Jeffrey, the dog. Yeah, all sorts of things. So
All sorts of good fun.
yeah, so they all have like a weird connection to something. Like Lioness was I just loved it, and it was also in our list of things that one day we would maybe use. So yeah.
Super fun. Speaking of answering the phone, we get a lot of weird answers when we answer the phone with our product line name. Rub with Love. Can I help you?
Oh God.
Yeah.
I love that. You're like, who did I call?
Yeah, exactly. So you do have to be careful.
Yeah.
Did I read you have some exciting things coming up in 2025?
We do. We have, I know, we're
3 new children.
3 new children. We're opening. It was a long conversation with the developers in Pioneer Square. So we're doing a giant brewery, which I'm not really involved in, which is great.
Okay.
And then a little tiny restaurant that's kind of English, British-ish, Britalian, as I like to call it, and then a little takeout pizza place, like Slice Spot.
Cute.
So yeah, it's right on the corner. It's in the old FX McQuarrie space. So
Beautiful.
yeah,
That's
nostalgic.
so fun. Yeah.
He tried so many times to sell me that.
Oh yeah,
restaurant.
same.
You too. He's like,
No,
Yeah.
thanks. It needed a lot of love.
yes, it did.
Yeah.
And it sounds, well, if you're doing it, it's
Well
gonna get the
shepherded.
love.
Yes.
Yeah.
Now.
Well, it's we're kind of coming in at the end, which is great. So like all the developers are really managing all of that because it's just too impossible of a space for us to attempt to finance. So yeah, it's great.
All right, when we come back, let's focus on sunlight and breadcrumbs, making food with creativity and curiosity. You and Sarah Dickerman, who's been on our show several times,
Love her.
wrote this book, and it's a highlight of the year and certainly is
Thanks.
doing well in the marketplace. So let's talk about that when we return with Renee Erickson on Cairo Radio. It's the Hot Stove Society Show, 97.3 FM.
My grandpa used to tell me the walrus and the carpenter story, like recite it to me when I was little all the
Uh-huh.
time.
It's really it's so
Yeah.
yeah. It's a charming story. It's also funny where you're like, oh yeah,
It's a little dark, but yeah.
but that's what we do. So it's it's a little crazy. Yeah, Pioneer Square. Oof.
It's a challenge.
Yeah, we'll see.
New challenge.
It's a part of town that's like so amazing and
Got so much
Hard. I know.
architectural history. And
Yeah.
So beautiful. Every time I'm down there, I'm just like,
yeah.
But-
Grant, the developer, he's so positive and optimistic. So it's one of
Yeah.
like, and I'm like, a little bit the curmudgeon where I'm like, I don't know, like we'll see. But
So there's 3 of you, right? You've got a business partner.
there's 4 of us
4,
actually.
okay.
And then the developer is Grant, the guy who's kind of
Okay.
very excited about. I mean, it's really he's done an amazing job. So we'll see. We just need humans.
Yeah.
That's all.
How's everyone doing out there? Breakfast went down easy. Right.
I of course had both walking pneumonia and bronchitis in September, so I still have this like weird little cough.
Yeah.
everyone I know has had pneumonia. Crazy.
It was awful.
Jackie had it for about 3 months.
Yeah, it feels like I just like I literally
My
like, a
sister-in-law,
few
my
days ago,
mother-in-law, like everybody right now.
Yeah.
started to feel a little more normal. Tom, I have a recipe in there that's meatloaf, and it's titled "Meatloaf for Sandwiches."
I read that. I love that.
You like a meatloaf sandwich?
Because I hate meatloaf, but I love meatloaf sandwiches.
I thought that was so
Me
clever.
too, with Heinz
Yeah.
chili sauce
Oh yeah, I don't do any of that, but
and butter.
yeah, oh butter's good.
Does meat
Yeah.
sandwich have a meatloaf sandwich?
It does not. It's
Missing
steak
out.
tartare. Which is really
Steak
good.
tartare sandwich?
Yeah, it's delicious.
Mm.
Lots of meat, but
For that place being so close to my warehouse, I never get there. Because I'm
that
always in the
yours?
left-hand turn lane.
Dan's my husband's.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
Always in the left-hand turn lane going onto the bridge. And
Yeah.
Then I see it and it reminds
Yeah.
me, but I'm never on that
he
side.
would probably bring you sandwiches in his van. He would love to, actually.
I see him at Cash and Carry once in a
yeah,
while.
yeah, I know. He tells me when he sees you.
All right, here we are. It's the Hot Stove Society Show. We're in the Hot Stove Kitchens in downtown Seattle. Beautiful Hotel Andra, 4th and Virginia. Come down and say hi. You can stop in the Dahlia Bakery before you get started. You can walk up the stairs above Lola, come all the way back to the back of the building, and you'll find a bunch of cheery faces, all having a good time, drinking hot coffee, having breakfast, and enjoying the company of Renee Erickson, Loretta Douglas, and myself.
I feel like our beautiful lending cookbook library is very overlooked back here. So if you're here,
Oh.
take a gander.
In
That's
the-
a great point.
Yeah, in the
through
Hot Stove Lounge.
Little
Yeah.
lounge and cookbook library and take something home with you that you want to try.
Yeah, why not?
I do it all the time.
I love it.
Renee, you have a new book out. Renee
do.
Erickson, chef, owner of many Seattle restaurants. all beautiful. It's called Sunlight and Breadcrumbs. This is your third or fourth?
Third.
Book. It's making food with creativity and curiosity. And I guess I did not know about the art degree history of yours. It
Many
explains a few
don't.
things.
Yeah.
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 And your style, your sensitivity in painting. This is your painting on the front,
Mhm.
right? Yeah.
Yeah. There's
It's-
paintings throughout. Yeah.
Super unique. Although I did buy a chocolate sardine, chocolate
those are
foil wrapped
cute.
sardine that
Mhm.
looks a lot like this picture on the front
I love it.
down at the Madrid to Paris store.
Oh, awesome.
Did you know it's owned by Caroline now?
I just heard this,
From
which is
Harvest Vine?
amazing. Yeah.
Isn't
I
that
love
a funny
that.
little coinky dink? Anyway, it's a beautiful book. Your paintings are throughout.
So you painted the pictures, you wrote the book, and you took all the photos.
I had help writing the book. Sarah's really the writer of the book. I mean, we write it together, but she makes me sound great. Yeah. But I did all the photos. Jim Hankins did the photos for my first 2 books, and then he moved to New York. And so there was a moment in our second book where he was taking photos and I was taking photos, and we would always snap them with our phones to kind of like look at how we wanted it to be or see if it was going to be the way we wanted it. And his photos always looked different than mine. And it took me like 10 years to learn this, but he's 6'5", I'm 5'5". So the foot difference always made such a difference. And so
interesting.
it was such a weird, like, aha moment where I was like, oh, that's it. Like, it's because I'm seeing it one way and he's seeing
And
it.
so the light's totally different then for the
Well,
camera
it's also
angle.
just, the angle, everything, like how you set it up. And so it was funny. And so like when he moved, I was like, well, maybe I could do this. And digital cameras help. It was hard. It was really hard, but I'm glad I did it. I would not do it on I hope to never write another cookbook, but so get
You
it,
heard
get
it
it while
here.
you can. But I would have an assistant or somebody that like shot like a co-photographer
Mhm.
if I were to do it again.
How can people get more creative in their cooking? When I talk to people, one of the questions I ask in my cooking classes that I teach here is, what dish do you own? And typically
that's
it's,
smart.
because people just don't have the confidence sometimes. So the one dish that they own is the dish that they'll serve when they invite somebody over for supper.
Yeah.
And how could they take that dish and be a little bit more creative with it? Let's say it's lasagna, because that's a big one that comes up all the time.
And we had lasagna.
How do you approach it?
Because
Because you know what a classic lasagna is.
Sure.
Yeah.
I mean, I think, backing up even just kind of in the concept of creativity, like I think as adults kind of have kind of quit being creative in a way. Like we as a child, of course, we're like doing whatever
Let's
and
color.
we're like super interested in whatever and less, judgmental of ourselves. And so I think kind of in a baseline kind of encouragement on creativity is just to like squash the I can't do it sort of thing, because we can all learn. We're not, we're all able to do all these things if we just kind of let ourselves be a little freer. And so, I mean, I think, like in regards to lasagna, I would say, challenge yourself to not do the same thing over and over again. Like, I know we all kind of get in that funk. I know I do, but it's a nice thing to kind of be like, okay, well, what other vegetable do I make in other
Right.
pastas? Or, like try different cheeses or cut things differently. I think there's just this idea that there's one way to do everything. And I don't believe in that. And so I think if we kind of loosen up a little bit and kind of give ourselves some grace around what we're choosing to do and like look in your fridge and see what's there. I think a lot of, we kind of buy everything to have everything. And I don't know that that's not exactly like helping you. It's just following someone else's idea. But
So when you say that we buy everything to have everything, in other words, we're stocking our fridge in a way that it's not the freshest, but when we get to it, or it's just
Or
like,
like we
it's-
just, like,
this is what I like, so this
it's
is
a
what I'm going to
box.
have in my fridge.
yeah, or we, we're like kind of prescribed to whatever is being told to us versus like opening the fridge up, or like responding to what looks good in the grocery store versus like, if they say put chard in it and the chard's all wilty and crap, like buy kale or, buy cabbage or, like be a little bit like looser in our definition of what needs to be in this thing. I think
Right.
there's an idea to like, I mean, it's just a casserole, right? Lasagna is not like this
Yeah, but people are so afraid to fail, especially. It feels
Yeah,
like
there's
in cooking.
that.
Yeah.
But I think that goes back to the kid thing where it's just like, who cares? You're
Well,
gonna
Play
you
a
know.
little bit. Tom, when you asked
Yeah.
that question, I thought of roast chicken.
Uh-huh.
And in her book, there's a roast chicken where she takes a creme fraiche and puts
Yeah, all
gets
over
that
it.
all over it, marinates it, puts it in the fridge so it dries out, right?
Yep.
And it gets that little pellicle. And I thought that was brilliant.
I mean, it's it's one of the. I mean, and I make that and sometimes forget to do it a day in advance, and I still cook it, and it's still delicious. So
Mhm.
I think there's just the idea of we're like just the judgment around it all. I think we need to kind of get rid of
Mhm.
because most of the things are actually probably really delicious. Like, I don't know.
It's also like not that serious, right?
No,
Like,
it
I
should be
feel it
fun,
just
yeah.
should be fun.
In my
and
opinion,
you
I mean,
should
there is
play
serious
and-
cooking,
yeah.
but I don't, like it's certainly not my style.
I laughed when I saw your mother's mayonnaise
Right?
coated salmon.
Totally.
Oh,
And it
yeah.
reminded me so much of Jamela and Nancy out there at the Ark restaurant.
Yeah.
And when they first opened, they got so famous for putting tartar sauce on top of
No, I love it.
their halibut. It was called halibut du chef.
Yeah.
It's like it's literally
Chef's halibut.
and it was tartar sauce on halibut. And a lot of people would say, well, that's gross. But it's really technically it makes a lot of sense,
Yeah.
right? Mayonnaise is fat, a little bit of egg. And,
Yeah, it's a great marinade for sure.
yeah.
I mean that whole chapter is kind of based on nostalgia and also like kind of being proud of things that like I know early on in my cooking career, I was doing the things that we're telling you all not to do now, which is like fussing over certain ways to cut things or fussing over like the right way to do something and also kind of like casting aside things that were like like stuff you grew up with or maybe not like culinarily like like the highbrow version of
Technical
anything.
or- yeah.
And so that's like why I think the salmon's so funny because it was something that I had probably once a week for my entire childhood because we were I grew up here and we would fish and we would freeze things and we would have and we had mayonnaise which we loved, so that would that was a really easy way to make something. And so I think everyone has something that is important to them as a kid or something that their mom made that they maybe kind of like didn't acknowledge or love because they like got like more self-important or
Yeah.
something.
Mhm.
And then you just come around, you're just
It wasn't
like,
cool enough for us
what is wrong?
hot
Like,
chefs.
yeah, how stupid. Like,
yeah.
of course it's cool enough. It's delicious.
I grew up with
It's like, I like Doritos. Like,
Yeah.
who
You
cares?
do?
I love Doritos. Yes.
I grew up with Mrs. Paul's fish sticks on Friday nights
Oh.
and Bumblebee canned salmon, which I loathed, absolutely loathed. And it would come out, and my mom would take it out, and it would still be in the shape of the can.
Oh my
and-
God. Amazing.
It was just the worst, and I never
I think
had
that's
fresh
a little
salmon.
different
Yeah.
than like Renee and her family fishing.
I know it's just the same.
You're
It's the
like,
same.
plonk.
I never had fresh salmon, until I moved to Seattle.
Yeah.
And-
I was, I was definitely spoiled as far as seafood goes.
I love you say something in this book about the feeling of eating outside and just the act of like taking your meal outside and eating it in the open air can change the whole experience of you having it and also can change the way that you feel about maybe like that same food that you would be eating inside. And
So canned salmon would taste better outdoors.
probably honestly, but I love the idea of that. And I think it's so true and something that I don't think about of like, you can alter the setting of the same thing that you're used to having. And it takes on a completely different life.
Elevates it.
Yeah. I mean,
Yeah.
that's why picnics are so wonderful. I think the idea of like, creating an experience with food that isn't convenient. I think there's something lovely about like just all this stuff that you're hauling somewhere, laying out a
Spread.
towel, blanket,
Yeah.
whatever, and
Well, it's also like the title of your last book.
get
Getaway,
away. Yeah.
food and drink that transport you.
Yeah.
That's the same
Yeah.
kind of
That's-
feeling.
yeah.
Yeah. It's really
I
beautiful.
love that.
Jackie always wants to take a picnic down to the Blue Ridge Beach,
Yeah.
Oh,
and
Invite me.
And you always say no.
Sounds like
100%
no.
always say. Well, I would never say no.
just
I
on her
mean, I'll
birthday.
do it,
she'll-
but
yeah.
kind of grudgingly. because the whole sand thing and sitting
Oh
on
my
my
God.
butt in the sand on a towel and getting it into my crab and
Getting it into your crab.
Yeah, my second book, Big Dinners, we did a whole crab feed down on the
Yeah.
beach. It was so gross.
You're just kind of messy, maybe.
Maybe I'm not messy.
Yeah.
I don't
I
know.
know
what
you
it
are
is.
messy, I think.
The opposite.
On the
of-
beach, messy.
Oh, messy
Oh.
on the
Yeah.
beach. Yeah, he doesn't like to be messy though.
Yeah.
No, I like a little
I'll have to
order
get
in
you
my
some
life.
little
You know what
cha-
doesn't
beach
come with
chairs.
order?
What?
Twins and a 3-year-old.
That's true.
There is no order involved there.
As he follows them around like with a vacuum.
I love it.
Is that true?
OCD. Tom,
Renee's new
I love
book
it.
is called Sunlight and Breadcrumbs: Making Food with Creativity and Curiosity. If you haven't seen it, it's really a joy. It puts a smile on your face, both in the art, which I think is charming, and then in the notion of getting to know Renee a little bit and where you grew up
Yeah.
and how you grew
Very
up. And
personal. It's lovely.
yeah, it's very personal. So you're going to stay, I believe, for another couple segments, and we're going to build a New Year's Eve supper together.
Okay.
And we're going
Exciting.
to flip-flop courses. So you decide if you want to start or go second. Because
Okay.
once an ingredient is used, that's it.
Wow.
That's
This
it.
is like
That's it.
elimination bracket style.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah,
rules,
exactly.
Tom.
Some rules. On Cairo Radio, it's the Hot Stove Society Show, 97.3 FM. Becky, I'm going to come to you for a course too, so don't think you're out of this.
Love it.
She's a fabulous home cook, although I've never been invited to her house.
I haven't been. A
Hysterical.
lot.
I don't
Oh,
know.
Your
Let's see.
bugles?
You can start.
I think our guests should
Oh.
have the option to start.
Gotcha.
She says you can
You
start.
can start.
Oh, thank you.
I love it.
Okay, here we go. We're back in the kitchen. Hot Stove Society Radio time on Cairo. I just looked up and saw my sister in the audience again. It's like, whoa,
Yay.
whoa, I recognize her. Renee Erickson is staying with us for another segment, and we're going to build a New Year's Eve supper real quick here. And the rules of the game are this. As many courses as we can get around the table.
I didn't know there were rules.
Yeah, as many courses as we can get in around the table. But you have to build on the last course. So you cannot use the same
You
ingredient.
and Terry used to do that.
Yeah, we
That's
did.
fun.
Yeah. And so that's the deal. And Becky, you have asked to go first.
Yes, because I have a fun one.
Okay.
Okay.
So we're going to limit it to 10 courses. We'll see if we get there or not.
All right.
10
So
courses.
it's New Year's Eve, which is special. And I just came across an Instagram post from Kenji Lopez Alt where he had caviar and bugles.
Uh-huh. The
And then
little
he-
waffle
and
cone.
Yep, the little with little creme fraiche and chive. And he had made his own board to store to
Mhm.
hold the bugles. They're like little ice cream cones.
Yeah, little
So my
caviar
neighbor
cone.
made me a really cute piece.
Who did?
My neighbor
Okay.
drill pressed, and it was about the size of a dime. And he did lots of practice, and so we're serving that tonight. And I'm going to get the bugles.
Is he coming? The neighbor?
Yeah, he is,
Oh,
he
okay,
is.
good.
But I did a practice run, and only 1 out of 5 bugles really are decent shape to hold the caviar. But that's what I'm going to
These
do.
are like
Like the
store
chip.
bought bugles.
Yeah, so
Okay.
trashy good
Yeah. Good.
with
All right.
beautiful Seattle caviar,
I love
little
it.
creme fraiche, and a chive. So that's what we're starting
Sounds
with.
delicious.
Nice way
And
to get
bubbles.
started.
And I've already got bubbles in
I
the,
like the crunch. I mean, we
Yes.
had caviar with buckwheat blini
Yeah.
for our,
I'm going to serve
but
that too.
the crunch sounds good to me. Renee, you're up
I
next.
love it. Well, I'm gonna riff off the caviar. Can I use caviar again if it's a different kind of caviar?
No.
God, you're no fun. All right. Well, oysters, of course. So
Okay.
raw oysters. We serve Hama Blue Pools right now at Lioness with really spicy olive oil and black pepper. So I'm gonna do that.
Is that what was
Mm.
in my martini? Was that spicy
You had
olive oil?
fig leaf oil.
Fig leaf oil.
Yeah,
Of course I did.
Yeah, because
as one does.
Yeah.
I've never heard of it. Sounds
So yeah,
fun.
just yummy Hama oysters with
Uh-huh.
spicy olive oil and pepper.
And what does that do for the oyster? It's like, is it bringing
It's-
something out, or is it add like a mouthfeel?
I mean, their oysters are really bright and minerally right now. So I think the oil is just it's like herby essentially to go with the kind of flavor of the oyster. It's it's like a fancy hot sauce without the hot.
Yeah, exactly.
It's just a flavor. It's not. I don't know that it like. I mean, the oyster on its own doesn't need anything,
Right.
right? We're just gilding the lily. So
All right, Loretta, there's a nice seafood starter happening here. Do you want to make it a trio, or are you going to move on?
I want like a really, really icy cold martini
Ooh.
on New
Ah.
Year's. Like to me, New Year's says martini.
Mm-hmm.
And so I'm going for martini. I'm a vodka martini girl.
Where did that come from? None of the elders in your household
I
drink
don't
vodka.
know. I just like a vodka martini, mostly
Uh-huh.
because for me it's just a vehicle for olive juice, and I want like a
Dirty.
really
Super dirty.
extra dirty martini. But I want the little shard ice crystals
You remember how to get that? I've taught you this.
shake.
Well, you
No.
got to shake, but you can't use ice machine ice. You
What
have
do
to
you mean?
use ice right out of the freezer, because that's where you get ice machine ice is already in the process of melting, so you don't get good shards.
Okay.
But if you use that really hard frozen ice and shake it really
Then
vigorously,
it breaks up a
then
little
it
bit.
breaks up into shards, and you can't strain it, or else you'll strain the
Yeah,
shards out.
else you strain the shards
Yeah.
out. So I'm going for a very dirty vodka martini, ice cold,
Wow.
frosty glass.
And
with
what kind
my-
of olive
with my
juice do you get?
oysters.
Just standard, or does it have to
I
be
usually
Costa
use
Vetrano?
I
Yeah.
use the Costa Vetrano olives normally, but I don't mind a trashy red pepper stuffed olive either. I'm not a blue cheese or an onion girl, so
What about an
Um,
anchovy?
I like the
stuffed?
feta. Yeah,
you like a feta olive?
yeah.
Yeah,
I like an anchovy
Anchovies,
olive
yeah.
anchovy
or
olive.
preserved lemon.
Ooh,
Also
I haven't
yummy.
had preserved lemon. That
Yeah.
sounds
Mm.
good.
You know, I often order my martini with dirty ice. You know what the difference between a dirty martini and dirty ice is?
No idea.
You have no idea
you
either?
No.
use the ice that they shook it with.
That they stirred it with, or 'cause
Yeah.
I hate the idea of pouring good gin on ice and then pouring that out onto new ice. Makes no sense to me when they throw away all the marinated ice right down
The
the drain.
Mary, you're like, I
Ooh.
want all the gin.
I want
damn
the
it.
gin, damn it. I only have 2 drinks. I want all
I
the
love that.
gin. And then I'm a lemon peel guy. I'm more than an
Lemon.
olive.
Yeah, you're a gin and lemon.
So how did you
Vodka
ask for that?
olive.
If you were ordering
Dirty ice.
just
and
they,
I would
they know
say
what that is.
50% of the bartenders know what I'm talking about.
Okay, and the other 50 learned.
The other 50, I just stomp out and I throw
Sure.
throw,
Throw it
things
in their
at
face.
Oh, sure.
them. I'm not a steak tartare person, but when you mentioned that steak tartare sandwich that your husband
Yeah.
serves, I think that sounds really good. And I think a little tea sandwich with some crunchy cucumber, some creme fraiche, and some steak tartare, or not even creme fraiche, like a garlic olive oil
Yeah.
steak tartare.
Did you cut the crust off? They're cute little tea sandwiches. or-
I'm a crust on guy.
okay, I
Some people have called me crusty. All right, you're up. We've got a little. Sounds like we got a little board going.
is that about enough appetizers for a party of 8 to 10, or would you go for another?
Oyster,
I mean, it's up to
caviar,
you.
It's up to
tartare.
you.
Yeah.
Can I ask you one question? Do you know
Yes.
what a girl dinner is?
No.
A girl dinner.
I didn't know either.
Oh,
Do you
yeah.
know what it is?
Yeah, of
Yeah,
course.
okay. It's kind of
It's good,
sounding
okay.
like we're starting on a girl dinner.
All right, then I'm going to start with a little salad, a little radicchio salad, because
Okay.
it's the chicories are in right now and they're beautiful. Maybe a vinaigrette out of Renee's book, real simple something.
Uh-huh.
So just and maybe some real
So
herbs.
we're kind of moving to the next course.
Yeah, just a
okay.
little light salad after all that.
All right.
Okay. I'm gonna go with pasta.
Pasta.
Mm.
So I think the crab talk made me excited about crab. So we make cavatelli by hand, which I love because it's easy and
What's
delicious.
the shape of cavatelli?
It's like just like a little, like
Like a little curl.
yeah, it's like a little curled with edge. Sometimes
the
edges,
sauce.
sometimes no edges. We discovered, or I read about a tool called the Bibo, which is an Italian cavatelli maker from the 60s, and you attach it to the counter and it like shoots out. It's so much fun. Yeah, so that with like creme fraiche. Can I use creme fraiche again?
Absolutely.
I can't use any ingredients.
God, you're such a weenie bug.
All right,
Come on.
I'll make like a lemon cream sauce with Dungeness crab and chives.
Yogurt, high
Yeah.
protein
Yum.
yogurt.
Yeah.
Sounds delicious.
I already used
Okay, New
chives.
Year's
So-
Eve.
Meyer
we
lemon,
have
in case anyone
we've
wants
had our
it, they can't
pasta
have it now.
course. New
Yep.
Year's Eve. Okay, I'm going.
What are we now? That was 6.
Yeah,
Five?
I'm going lamb chops.
Ooh, I love this.
I feel like you only
I
need.
love a good lamb chop.
I
Yeah,
love a
you
lamb
only
chop.
need maybe 1 or 2 after you've
Uh-huh.
had all of this. I think they lend themselves to the size. I like them individually seared on both sides rather than cooked on the
Roasted.
rack and
Oh,
then
okay. Yeah.
cut. So
I like that.
I like the crispy sides, little lamb chop.
Uh-huh. And what
Maybe
was the
like
seasoning
a-
on it?
I don't know, something lemony.
I had lamb chops at Marish last night. Marish down in Fremont.
Misha.
Misha down in Fremont last night. Delicious.
Yum.
Delicious.
Yeah.
Yeah. Bright, lemony.
Yeah. So
Pepper.
more a little Greek style.
Yeah. Not like, yeah.
All right, I'm going to, for my next course, we only have 2 minutes left. This is course number 8.
Mhm.
We're going to go with Linnea's cream puffs
Oh,
that
those
she
were
made the other
so
night.
good for
With
Christmas
the
the other
yuzu
night.
curd, vanilla
Yum.
ice cream, and was it Meyer lemon whip?
It was,
I
yeah,
already
it
used
was.
Meyer Lemon Tom. Sorry.
Oh, that's right. So blood orange
Lemons.
whip.
There we go.
Blood orange
Yeah.
and yuzu. Okay.
And yuzu, and her
She had the little crackle on
the
her
crackle on top of
Oh, I
her
love
cream
that.
puffs were
Puff and-
really good.
Mm.
She's a baker at
Ben's bread.
Breads,
Yeah.
and she's also my niece-in-law.
Aw.
Is that what you call that? Yeah,
Niece,
anyway.
I think niece
I'm going to
is
pass it over to Renee because we only have a minute.
you're
and,
skipping.
and I think
Oh,
that
wow.
you
What are you drinking with dessert?
I was gonna say,
screwball.
Vinsanto.
God. I was gonna say Vinsanto. Yeah,
Mm.
Salvapiano Vinsanto. I would also throw in some cheese at the end of all of
Mm.
this.
Why
Oh,
not?
perfect. I love that.
A
Maybe the
finishing cheese
Parm, the
course
36-month Parm,
The 36
Yeah.
Parm, or
or Stilton.
that's more my style, but it doesn't go with Vinsanto all that well.
Stilton might.
Might-
Yeah, I think
When
so.
you're doing
We
a
had a
cheese
delicious eppois the other night.
Ooh.
You know what I love with Vinsanto or with Stilton is the sparkling, the fizzy
like
Italian.
Lambrusco.
No, the
Moscato d'Asti.
Moscato
Oh,
d'Asti.
yeah.
I like
Oh,
because
that's
it
fun.
breaks up the fat a little bit of the cheese. And
Yum.
Well, it sounds
So
delicious.
good.
Yeah.
if anyone listening makes this dinner
Oh
for
my
New
God.
Year's Eve, make
Invite
sure you
us.
send it to us, a picture, and I will do something super nice for you.
Yes, you will.
Oh,
Okay, but
You-
you have to make the whole thing.
Okay.
I mean, we're talking a weekend here in downtown
Yeah.
Seattle with dinners, breakfast,
Wow.
hotel stays.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think I know who's
But you
going
have
to
to
do
do
this.
every course of this and send us a picture. On Cairo Radio, stay with us for Food for Thought, Tasty Trivia, 97.3 FM.
all we had to drink was martinis.
A martini and Vinsanto. We forgot any wine in between.
Yep.
Renee, will you stay for trivia?
All right.
Oh my god.
Yep. How do you get here with 3 babies in the morning?
What?
How do you get here so early?
Becky's trying to kill me with the 8 a.m. taping. Normally it's at 9.
She has an Italian au pair.
Oh, I love
I do
that.
have an au pair, yeah.
Where from
She wore out
Italy?
the first one after 2 years, and now they have a new one.
They are only allowed to stay for 2 years. She's from Abruzzo.
Nice.
Little tiny town of 1,000 people.
Are they learning Italian?
Yeah, she only speaks to the babies in Italian. But
I
my
love
husband
this.
speaks fluent Italian, so that's why
Yeah.
we have.
I
Italian
love
kids.
this.
So I'm like fully odd man out in my house because they all.
Speaking Italian. Adorable.
I gotta learn. I need to start on my Duolingo or something.
Yeah. We should all move to Italy for a year. Yeah. 8 a.m.
Segment.
Okay.
That will
Is Friday
We'll figure it
normally
out.
8?
What?
Do you normally do this at 8 or is it 9 normally?
9 o'clock. normally.
9.
9 on Thursday.
Poor Loretta this month.
December is they have so many classes.
Ah,
here
A lot of
during the days
lunches
that,
and-
packed.
have to push.
And we're back for the final segment of this week's Rub with Love Tasty Trivia Challenge. Renee Erickson is staying with us, chef owner of many of Seattle's fine restaurants. Also has a new book out called Sunlight and Breadcrumbs, Making Food with Creativity and Curiosity. Sarah Dickerman, who you might have heard on our show before, not for a few years though,
Yeah.
is her co-author, and we love Sarah. She's awesome. Our delicious and versatile family of products would be proud to be part of your 2025 meal plan. Pick up some at grocery stores like Town and Country Markets, Metropolitan Markets, Thriftways, or your local fish shop in Seattle like Wild Salmon Seafoods, Fisherman's Terminal, or Fresh Fish in Ballard, or the Seattle Fish Guys in the Central District, along with 5,000 other retail shops around our lovely country. All right, Becky, let's play this game. How is it played, and who is our well, we know our guest contestant.
Yes.
Yeah.
So you guys might be in a little bit of trouble, but it's going to be okay.
Yeah.
Each of you get 5 questions, and then whoever wins will pick an audience member to pick up a 3-pack in the lovely gift shop of Rub with Love spices. So it's a pretty fun little
So
treat.
it's a fun stroll if
Yes.
you win. You get
Yes.
3 freebies. Yeah. Good
My
stroll.
aunt's in the audience, so I'm going to look at her for my phone a friend.
She's my
Uh-oh.
sister.
Yeah, well, she likes me more.
Well, there's no doubt about that.
All right. So we're going to start with Loretta first. And this one
Okay.
might not be fair because we just talked about this, but which sparkling Italian wine, often enjoyed during New Year's Eve, is known for its sweetness and lower alcohol contents?
Scotto d'Asti.
There you go.
Your grandmother Douglas's favorite wine.
I know.
Yeah.
That was like
I
all
love
she
it.
would drink. Yeah.
Like wine for
Oh,
kids in Italy.
it
I think.
is.
Yeah.
She drank Mogan David once in a while. But
What?
Manischewitz, Mogan
Oh, yeah,
David.
yeah, okay,
Concord,
okay.
yeah.
All right. Number
Yum.
2, Loretta.
Okay.
What is the essential ingredient in tarte tatin that creates its signature caramelized effect?
Sugar,
Sugar, it is. Sugar and butter. Easy.
apple, butter, sugar,
Yep.
puff pastry.
Yeah,
Yep.
that's it.
That's it. Number 3, andouille is a spicy fermented Italian pork sausage. Its texture is similar to which of these foods? Hard salami, pate, or prosciutto?
Pate.
Pate, you got it. All right, number 4. In Japan, what sweet rice cake dish is traditionally pounded and eaten during the New Year's celebration?
Mochi.
Mochi. Have you
My
ever?
Wow,
favorite
you're
food.
getting some freebies
yeah,
today.
this is like all things I like today.
Yeah.
Okay. What is your final question? What is the traditional Spanish technique called where rice is intentionally allowed to caramelize and crisp at the bottom of the pan, particularly in dishes like paella?
Sakura.
Baccarat, nailed it.
I would not
Okay,
have known that
I
except
know.
for we had paella for our Christmas Eve dinner the other day.
There
and,
we go. And
Yeah.
you talked
he was
about it.
quite worried about it.
And did it
Well,
turn out?
I did it on my charcoal grill, and my
Uh-huh.
fire was way too hot to be putting that pan on top.
You did it anyways.
So I did it anyways.
And did you burn it?
Well,
Yeah.
it might have been a little burned,
Okay.
but
Okay.
it didn't get kind of that low and slow sakarat, the caramel
Right.
that I wanted. It
Right.
just cooked too
That
fast.
Bridget talks about.
Yeah,
And
exactly.
well, okay.
Bummer.
I always
man.
think of it as tadig, like
Yeah, I
in
would
the-
have known the Iranian one.
yeah,
but I
Iranian
actually
version.
Yeah.
can't remember the Spanish.
Fun. Okay. All right, Renee. It's good to have you
Do
here.
I get a free one too?
Well, we'll see.
What is a crustacean on the beach called?
Yeah, right.
Name a bivalve. Okay, number 1. Carob is a naturally sweet pod-derived powder from the carob tree, often used as a caffeine-free substitute for what in baked goods and drinks? Carob.
I have no idea.
chocolate.
I mean, for chocolate. Yeah,
chocolate.
But like,
Yeah,
okay.
it's a replacement.
I was
for
like,
chocolate.
is this some trick question that like some
No,
like
it's really easy.
Okay.
Like, don't overthink it. My mom used to
Okay.
make us
I'm
eat
like
that
there's
in the
some like
70s.
weird specific thing. I'm like,
What's
mm-mm.
it's the big hippie ingredient?
It was the big hippie thing when we
Yeah.
go to Kirkland PCC.
Yeah,
Yeah, that's right.
vegan
like
chocolate.
chicory coffee in
Coffee,
Umbria.
yeah.
No bueno? No.
I mean, there's just no caffeine.
Why have it?
What's
All right, number
the point?
2.
Yeah, right.
What traditional Mexican dish is often made together by families during the holiday season, symbolizing unity and generational bonds?
Pozole,
Tamales.
tamales. Oh
Tama-
yeah, I don't like tamales.
You don't?
Really?
You're
No.
just not a, what's
They're just-
what don't you like about them?
Texture is
Just
nothing.
too much masa, not enough stuff.
Yeah.
You might
over-
need to riff on that.
Well,
you might need to
yeah,
improve
I'd rather
it.
eat pozole.
Yeah,
I'm
sounds good.
losing. Sorry,
love
whoever.
pozole.
I do too.
Everyone's a winner.
Pozole's the best.
All right, number 3. What kitchen tool is traditionally used to make tomato passata? Passata.
A moulie, like a. I have no idea. God,
The word
how'd she get all
passata
the
means
good, easy
passed
ones?
or strained. I
Oh.
never know how they're going to
A
go.
moulie she's talking about is this.
Yeah,
strainer.
yeah, so that's
Yeah.
it.
Like a
Yeah,
rice
you got
strainer
it.
or
Yeah.
something.
A kitchen
Food
sieve
mill.
or a food mill. Yes,
Okay.
that's I had food mill. So
Food mill.
you got it. All right. Tokai is a dessert wine spelled Tokajai. You know this. Made from grapes affected by noble rot, giving it its distinct sweetness and complex flavor. It's known as the wine of kings and originates from which country? Would you like options?
I was gonna say she got all the options. Is it Hungary?
It's Hungary.
Yeah,
Nailed
thought
it.
was Hungary.
I threw in Japan because I thought that's
Yeah,
sounds a little Japanesey, but Hungary it is.
it's
All right.
delicious.
It is good, really good.
Mhm.
Number 5, your final question. Grains of paradise, a West African spice, was banned in Florida during a prohibition for allegedly enhancing alcohol's potency. The outdated law was repealed in 2020. True or false? Grains of paradise is an ingredient in Bombay Sapphire gin.
You shaking your head up and down because it's true.
It's-
No, because she's making a martini.
I'm like,
Like, it's true. It's one of the 10 ingredients.
I
I
love
did not
that.
know
I had
that.
no
You asked
idea.
about that last
Yeah,
week.
I did.
So there we go. 4 out of 5. Pretty good.
I didn't fail.
But no,
Like 80%.
good job.
So what do you win? Someone wins something, right?
Well, we
so
got-
far,
So far, I'm
Oh, we
winning.
have to keep
so,
doing it again.
yeah.
Oh, now it's Tom's
and then
turn?
she gets to pick an audience member to go take a free
Ooh, I
stroll
love
through the
this.
gift shop.
So the audience wins.
Yes,
for sure.
that's great.
Okay, Tom. In a recent New York Times article titled "The 26 Best Dishes We All Ate Across," Sean, can you redo that, please? Okay, number 1. In a recent New York Times article titled "The 26,"
Go back again. There's no number 1.
This is number 1.
that was the first question.
First question.
Oh, that's okay.
Oh, okay.
That's
I
okay.
see what you're
Let's
saying.
okay, Sean. Clean up on aisle 3 one more time. All right.
Keep it all,
time.
Sean.
Last time. Okay, Tom, you ready?
Last time I used that line, this is was when
Please
Loretta was
don't.
born.
Please edit this out, Cam.
I've heard this before. We don't have time for that story. You're welcome, Loretta.
You're
It reminds
so
me
funny.
every time of
I won't say it again. All right. Tom, in a recent New York Times article titled "The 26 Best Dishes We Ate Across the U.S. in 2024," the Kwasubi, spelled Coissubi, from Bake Some in Oakland, California, earned a spot on the list. This croissant-inspired portmanteau balances maximalism and minimalism. Topped with Parmesan and togarashi, what savory ingredient is in the center?
spam.
Spam, you got it.
Mm. Nope.
Number
Not into spam.
No.
Oh my god, I love spam.
I can eat a good
in a
musubi.
croissant? Yeah.
Yeah.
Number 2, which bottle format holds more champagne, a Jeroboam or a Balthazar?
Balthazar.
Balthazar. You knew that immediately.
Immediately.
Yeah, 16 bottles, where a Jeroboam is only 4.
Ask him about a
Jeroboam is only
Nebuchadnezzar.
Oh, what's the Nebuchadnezzar? 20.
22. That's what we
22.
had for Loretta's wedding.
Oh, wow. Oh, that's right.
Fun.
You made a contraption for it.
I did. I couldn't lift it
Like a wheelbarrow that you're
Yeah.
like
He made like a
I
tilt a
made-
wheel for it.
out of the box. Yeah,
Yeah.
that it came in. So
fun.
Great idea. Number 3, what Southern dish traditionally eaten on New Year's Day for good luck combines black-eyed peas, rice, and pork?
black-eyed peas.
Hoppin' John.
Oh, okay.
Actually, I knew that.
No,
I
Southern
knew
people?
that, but yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Number 4, which traditional Japanese fermented food uses koji as a key ingredient along with steamed soybeans and salt?
Miso.
Miso.
I have some aging on my counter at home right now.
How much more time
It's
do you have
just
to go?
hitting the 6-month mark. right
Okay.
now, yeah.
Then you're
6 more
gonna taste it.
months.
Yeah. You put your face in there. It smells so good.
Love it. Okay,
your
final
face.
question. In the context of cheese, what does cheddar refer to?
The way it's cut in the milk bath.
That's great. That's one
Yeah.
of them. It's a cheddaring process, which involves stacking, turning, and pressing curds to expel the whey and create its texture. It also refers to where it came from, Cheddar, England.
Ah,
There you go.
I did not know the second part of that.
So 4 out of
So it
5.
looks like we
Loretta's
have a
the
winner.
winner. So
Woo!
Nice
It's
job.
been a while.
You get to pick somebody from the audience. Sure, you'll get right on that. If you want to be part of the show, you can join our community on YouTube Live at Tom Douglas & Co. or buy a ticket to join us here in the studio at hotstovesociety.com. The show is produced by Becky Guzak. Our technical wizard today is Cameron Thomas. Our talented editor at Cairo is Sean. Please don't call me Del Torre. And if you miss any episode of our Hot Stove Society show on Cairo, just listen via podcast. You can subscribe with your favorite podcast app.
Thank you for listening and Happy New Year.
All right. And we're going to do our promo real quick, and then we're going to go back. It looks like McKinney forgot us today, so we're going to go back and do a fill-in segment for that when we're done here. But we'll go ahead and get the promo out of the way. Can we have quiet in the kitchen, please? Turn off the dishwasher. Thank you. Hi, I'm Chef Tom Douglas.
I'm Loretta Douglas.
Today on the Hot Stove Society radio show. Oop, I guess we're not going to have McKinney. Never mind. All right, we're going to come back to that one.
We're not doing promo.
No, we're going to have to. She has to write a new promo for me.
We'll just skip it and do the second two, plus New Year's.
Whose show is this?
They've turned everything off. We might as well just do it now.
You're not in charge, Tom.
No. Yeah. Next week is fine.
Okay, we're not doing promo. We're doing promo.
We're not doing promo.
Okay. Drew, you can wash the dishes again. No promo. Damn.
All right.
What are we
are
going to
gonna
talk
do
about?
Cabbage rolls.
Okay. Great. Do you like cabbage rolls?
I love a good
Yeah.
cabbage roll. You know who made the best cabbage rolls?
Mm-mm.
Mel at Dinette. Did you ever
Oh.
eat Dinette?
Oh my
Yeah,
God. I
that was
loved that
great.
restaurant.
I love that little restaurant. And one night she had a special of cabbage rolls, and I've been hung up on them ever since.
I love
Oh,
it.
the
Yeah.
toasts, like her whole toast section
Yeah.
on that menu.
Yeah.
I loved that restaurant.
All right, we're back in the kitchen on Cairo Radio. It's the Hot Stove Society show. And we're going to talk a little bit about cabbage rolls while we have an opportunity here today, since Miss Howell is going to join us next week, not
Yes.
this week. Okay. So this week, we are doing our make and take classes. We have 2 of them.
Mhm.
They're all sold out, so this isn't a promo for that.
Mhm.
But our first night, on Friday night, we did meatballs,
Mhm.
5 different meatballs.
Oh,
Then
wow.
you get to make one of them and take some home with you.
Mhm.
And then on Saturday, we did cabbage rolls.
Mhm.
And there are a couple of different kinds of cabbage rolls that we kind of dove into. And as with my crab cake book, there might be some give and take on what actually people describe or have a definition of what a crab cake is. I took some liberties.
Absolutely.
And I do the same thing with my cabbage rolls.
Can I interrupt for a second?
Yeah.
Bridget did not believe that class was going to sell out because she's
Oh,
not
really?
a cap. I don't know.
Well,
if
she's in France. What does she know?
it's kind of fun because it did sell out.
Thank you for that.
You're welcome. Well, you guys had a
Did
little.
you buy all the tickets?
No, you 2 had a bet going on because meatballs was a no-brainer.
Oh, that's right. Bridget and I
Meatballs
had a
is-
bet.
yeah,
I forget.
yeah.
So, yeah, of course, she left the country when she had to pay off her debts. So, my favorite cabbage roll kind of experiment was, or the kind of Chinatown roast duck cabbage roll.
Mm,
And so, we're taking the Chinatown duck, which I love.
already roasted.
It's a miracle that it made it back here in one piece.
Well, you probably bought 2.
I bought 6. Yeah. So then I take the skin off carefully in the biggest chunks I can get
Mhm.
because I want to crispen the skin. And then I pick all the meat and shred it. And there's a dish in Chinese or Vietnamese restaurants, I can't remember what country that's from, but where you take that shredded cooked meat and then you serve it with a green leaf, some herbs, and you make like a squab salad or a duck salad or something, and then you pack them into the green leaf. Make your own little kind of green spring roll.
Lovely.
Well, we're doing the same, but we're taking the Chinatown ducks, taking all the meat off, skin off, and then we're blanching, or we're making stock out of the bones, so you get that good star anise flavor.
Mhm.
Reducing that down and cooking our Napa cabbage in that,
Mm.
and then reducing that even further and making the dressing for the duck salad that's going inside. We're gonna make a cabbage roll, kind of like you would make a fresh roll, like a Vietnamese
Mhm.
fresh roll.
Instead
With
of
the rice paper, but
Mhm.
we're using the green leaf. And this little duck salad in there with charred squash, like a Kubota squash and duck.
Delicious.
So good. Lots of fresh mint and basil and look who happens to be sitting in the chair over there thinking about,
How she
are
could,
you a cabbage roll girl?
I don't
Renee
make
Erickson.
them, but I do love them.
Do you?
Yeah.
Do you
I
have
love
a family
the, like,
tradition?
Stuffed cabbage, like not even the rolls, where you like steam the cabbage and pull it all back and then fill
I
it.
don't know that.
Pretty,
I did that with artichokes, but not cabbage.
Yeah, it's pretty delicious. But yeah.
What do you
I love
stuff it with?
cabbage. Usually like meat, some sort of, like meat saucy
Uh-huh.
thing.
I feel like cabbage is very underrated.
Yeah, cabbage is one of the best vegetables.
It's our best seller at Neb as far as a vegetable
Yeah,
goes. It's
delicious.
crazy.
So good.
Yeah.
always Napa, or can you use different varieties?
Oh no, we're using all different kinds of things.
Okay.
I'm doing one in my class with squab.
Mm-hmm.
I'm just taking all the meat and skin and the heart and the liver of the squab, making a force meat out of it,
Oh, okay.
and wrapping it in radicchio leaves and giving it a quick pan fry
Yum.
Mm.
with a little pomegranate molasses. And
Something like that wouldn't freeze, though, would it? Could you?
why would you?
Yeah.
Because you
I
would.
mean,
eat
something
it.
like that is cooked fresh to order, whereas
Yeah.
a cabbage roll that's been braised in the oven
Uh-huh.
is something that freezes beautifully.
Okay.
And you just get them out and thaw them out. So
So good.
so good. Another one that we're making. What's the matter?
I'm just laughing at my version versus your squab force meat version.
What's your
Yours is
version,
with,
Loretta?
spam.
Not with spam, but I do make a pretty good instant pot cabbage roll soup.
Oh.
Really? I don't
Yeah.
know about this. You've
Mhm.
never made it for me.
Well, you don't come over very often.
What are the components?
It's pretty much everything you would put into a traditional cabbage roll. You just
Which
like
is
almost chiffonade the cabbage instead, so it's really fine because when it's thick it can take like a while to cook down, and you brown up your beef and tomatoes and all your seasoning and blah blah blah, and you put it in your instant pot with a bunch of broth and all your cabbage on top, and you
Ooh.
pressure cook it, and the cabbage pressure cooks down and it gets
Yum.
frothy, and then you just scoop it out. I top it with some cheese.
So cheating. Where's the roll part?
So
This is my whole thing is cheating. So
shortcuts.
shortcut. It's not cheating, it's a shortcut.
Okay.
But yeah, you skip the part that takes the time, which
Yeah.
in my life is, what I need.
Valuable.
Blanching the leaves and then
Yeah. And
cooling
rolling
them
and then up and
rolling
baking and blah
yeah.
blah blah. So you get that flavor when you really want that cabbage roll type.
I'm a Savoy cabbage person.
Me
Have you tried the difference between the red and between the green cabbage and the Savoy
I
cabbage?
usually will choose Savoy if
Okay.
if it's there.
Renee, do you
I
have
like
a
the
favorite in
texture
that? I
more.
just love that for
I
some
love
reason.
that. In London, Hispy cabbage, or like the cone shaped cabbage, is
Uh-huh.
everywhere, which I also love. We had a cabbage dish that I think was everyone's favorite like bite on the trip, which was kind of hysterical. But they like marinated it in miso and then steamed it, marinated it, and then grilled it,
Grilled it,
over
yeah.
charcoal,
Uh-huh.
and then put like a some sort of miso butter, and then a lot of Urfa on it, and it was and lime juice, and it was insanely delicious.
And that cone cabbage, I've seen those in the
Yeah,
markets, but I
yeah.
haven't really worked with them much. It works just like green
Yeah.
cabbage, right?
Yeah,
The ones that we know.
they're
Kind of
really dense, like
Uh-huh.
just like perfect sheets.
And do you just wedge it and then take the wedge out,
Yeah.
or do you leave the wedge
You
in
leave
and
the
cook
wedge,
it with the wedge?
steam it with the wedge, and then
so it keeps its shape.
Yep.
Then. Yeah.
so good.
Oh, sounds delicious.
Yeah, it was really, really, really delicious. We were all kind of like, "What is this?" It's like the season of brown food, so you're sort of like, "Oh, it's gonna be good," and then you're like,
Exactly.
"Holy shit, this is amazing!"
Cam, will you pick that up, please?
Sorry.
No problem. The
Oops.
another one of the cabbage rolls that we're making is ground veal, which
Yum.
I was inspired by Mel. I can't remember her last name. She had the little restaurant called Dinette. She
Yeah.
also had the Ugly Mug coffee shop for
Oh,
years
wow, God.
before that, and worked with us for a
The
few
one by
years.
me?
Now, if there's one by you, I don't know if she went and
Wasn't
reopened.
it the one in University District?
It
that
was.
one? Yeah, it was
Okay,
like
so
right
it was.
an
by
ugly
She
mug
had-
in Innerbay.
I
No.
understand
Yeah.
there is now, and I don't know if she went back to that
Okay.
or honestly, I
It was right
lost
by
track
Cedars,
of her.
I think. Wasn't
Yeah,
it?
yeah. But she made a cabbage roll for a special one night that I just loved.
Not Cedars.
And there's
Flowers.
two techniques that she did that I thought were super nice. One is after you make your sausage kind of filling,
Yeah.
you put it into a KitchenAid and put the paddle on and you paddle it. And it creates a whole different texture than say on how like sometimes on a stuffed pepper or a stuffed cabbage roll, the ground beef that you're using comes off a little grainy.
Yeah.
This
Uh-huh.
completely takes that out of the
Cool.
mix and it becomes more solid, almost like a steak, because it's
Yeah,
it's
like a
beaten
paste
together.
almost.
Yeah, like a paste. And then on the other thing that I'm adding to that mix is a mushroom gravy, but I got these over at Chef Shop. I got these Armagnac
Love
soaked
that place.
prunes,
Oh,
Mm.
delicious.
and I'm just putting those prunes into my force meat
Yum.
after I paddle it, and then make a nice little prune and veal cabbage roll with a little mushroom gravy.
Mm.
Good. I'm excited.
Mhm.
I love me a cabbage roll, and I
Should-
never had a history of them growing up.
No,
You always have them in your freezer now.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I love that. No, I might take it up. Might have
It's a.
Tom.
I have a few
cabbage
projects
rolls.
that I think are what we call projects.
Yeah.
Literally, like we made the Prosser Meatball Project, right, where
I
the
love
whole
that.
family kind of comes together. You make a huge batch. You get in line.
Hundreds
you
and
scoop.
hundreds of meatballs.
shape.
Yeah.
Get them in the freezer. Get them also, and then you have to cryovac them, and everyone gets to take home a bit of the proceeds, right?
Fun.
So I think that's a fun thing to do with cabbage rolls, and it's a great wintertime thing to have in your freezer.
Yeah.
I think cabbage was on the front cover of a New York Times article last year as it was going to be the
The hot-
underrated.
The hot
Yeah, the
veg,
hot-
yeah.
veg of the year. And now we're talking about it.
Well, we were talking about it long before that.
True.
Renee's had
True.
it. Yeah. The one that we do in the wood-fired oven at Neb
It's
is
so good.
Yeah.
it's just literally that. It's,
Okay, so what type is it? How do you said you wedge
it's a
it?
green cabbage.
So
It's a
how would we
wedge
do it at home?
Of Savoy cabbage.
Okay.
How do you do it at home? What do you tell people when they ask that about a favorite dish at a restaurant? You don't stay home. You,
You
go
don't-
out
you
to
go
the
to- you go to
restaurant.
Neb and you get it there.
You
Please come
support-
to the
You
restaurant.
support the restaurant that's
Okay.
doing such a beautiful job with it.
All right. I like it.
Any favorite wines over the holidays to go with our cabbage rolls? Because we didn't,
Mm.
when we talk about these things, to me they're a match made in heaven.
Yeah.
Chianti Classico for me. It's not a time for big Barolos or. but I
For the
love it.
cabbage roll?
Yeah.
Yeah, I would say like Chablis.
Oh, you're a white.
Ooh.
I mean, I love Chianti, but I do
Yeah.
love Chablis. Or Petit Chablis. I bought some Petit Chablis this
I
year.
don't know the difference.
I
I
love
know
them.
I've seen it certainly, but
It's
is
just
it different grape?
no, same. It's all Chardonnay. It's just
Uh-huh.
different regions. Like,
Okay.
like less fancy is
Okay.
Petit Chablis.
I didn't
Or
realize
younger vines, depends
that.
on.
Uh-huh.
But all from Burgundy.
All from Burgundy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Unless you're Gallo, then it's from.
Well,
wherever
that's
you
what
live.
the first time I had Chablis as an adult, I thought,
Yeah.
oh, that's that crappy
I
stuff in
think
the
they
box.
got in trouble for
And then
that.
I just learned, no, it's beautiful. It's my favorite
Yeah.
grape Chardonnay
Is it really?
for white. Yeah.
Yeah, isn't
Yeah.
that funny? I have a good non-oak Chardonnay on the menu right now at Series 5 that sometimes people don't believe it's Chardonnay because they're so used to those oaky
Yeah.
bombs
Mhm, mhm,
that it's an Italian unoaked
Delicious.
stainless steel
mhm.
fermented Chardonnay. And what kind of sauce have we put on? Most of my
Ooh.
cabbage rolls have tomato sauce, all the traditionals.
Mm.
For my Czech style cabbage rolls, which is the most classic, I do a sauerkraut base, tomato sauce, cabbage rolls on top, tomato sauce, oven braise.
I love that.
My cabbage roll bowl instant pot has tomato.
Tomato.
And no dishes.
And
And
I
no
mean,
rolls,
it's just your
yeah.
instant pot. You just put the rice in there too. I'm telling you, you just scoop it out.
So good. I don't.
Come to my house, guys. It's a good
Sounds
time.
So your grandmother Dot made a lot of stuffed peppers for you. You should try doing those.
I did. I made them last week.
Did you?
So good.
It's just when you come over to my house, I just make you cook for me. There's-
And clean
You're like, yes.
and take out the garbage.
it's grandparent
And
duties.
clean. Is that what you said, Tom?
Yeah, you have to do your own dishes at her house because she's in the bath with the
Yeah,
babies
she's-
or whatever. Yeah, they're
Through-
screaming.
you
the
can't.
dogs.
You don't
That
have to do
crazy
your own
dog
dishes.
of yours.
You just
You're
you
so
can't let them
nice.
go
Right.
until after
Right.
everybody's in bed, which is I'm usually doing them at like 11 p.m.
Yeah.
And you,
I'm a
Yeah.
good father.
I didn't say you weren't, but you do complain a lot about this.
Oh, that is true.
I love it.
What are we closing to here? We're-
Michelle Douglas.
Okay. When we come back, another Douglas to hear beat up on Tom Day. It's Michelle Douglas, the CEO of the Emergency Food Network. Let's do that again. The CEO of the Emergency Food Network in the Pierce County is going to join us to talk about what we can be doing this holiday season,
Help our neighbors.
We'll
And
have
loving our
Renee back
neighbors.
after that. It's gonna be a whole day.
the whole day on Cairo Radio. It's the Hot Stove Society Show, 97.3 FM. All right, Drew, we're going to do our promos now. I would have done them earlier, but Loretta was bossing me around that I couldn't do that. Can you?
It's just the principle of it because I said to do it one way.
Oh, believe me, don't think you don't. I don't know about that. That's paybacks.
It's so fun.
Thanks for stepping in
Yeah.
and helping out.
Sure. I was like panicking getting here.
Another thing from your book it reminded me is to take the scraps of the Parmigiano Reggiano. I know there's some in my freezer somewhere, but you said put it in a container and then make broth out of it.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
that's just something I learned and I forgot.
You
And
want to put them in a container. You don't want them all frosty because
Yeah.
then you
Yeah.
kind of
Because
ruin
then
it.
it ruins the
They are magic.
All right, quiet on the set, please. I'm Chef Tom Douglas.
And I'm Loretta Douglas.
Today on the Hot Stove Society radio show, we're going to explore cabbage rolls. We're going to talk to my sister, Michelle Douglas, CEO of the Emergency Food Network in Pierce County. And Renee Erickson is here, chef owner of Sea Creatures Restaurants, with her new book, Sunlight and Breadcrumbs, Making Food with Creativity and Curiosity.
Good job.
All right. You're off the hook.
All right. Yeah, we're done.
If you're so hungry, we have breakfast at Lola downstairs or across the street at the Dahlia Bakery.
You can have to eat? Yeah.